Good evening, everybody, and thanks for joining us tonight for week 3 of playoff round of 10 action here on Speed Racing Network. We have the Great Lakes 200 from Michigan International Speedway, and with me, I got Brandon Domain. Brandon, how's it going tonight?
It is good. Had a great race earlier at Sonoma that we got to watch with the real life Cup guys. See if our SRN Virtual Cup Series guys can back that race up as well and put on a good show. And I have no doubt they'll do that with our cutoff race before we get to that Championship 5 next week at Texas.
Yeah, these guys usually do a really good job of backing up a really good race earlier on in the day, and I think they're going to do the same again tonight, considering we've had 2 really good races here at Michigan so far with our truck series on Wednesday and some Xfinity action and going wall-to-wall green flag on Thursday. We got 100 laps tonight, no fast repairs. You think we'll see a lot of the same tonight, Brandon?
I think so. We're seeing a smaller field similar to what we saw Thursday night with the Xfinity Series. The Truck Series had pretty much a full field. Almost there is almost about 15 drivers more, I think, than we're seeing tonight, at least so far in the lineup. So you're going to get more spaced out. I think we'll see something pretty similar to the Xfinity Series. I think the points, there might be a couple more guys here tonight that have a little bit more desperation in trying to move up. There's not going to be as easy of a time to try to move into those 5 spots that are currently being held. So maybe you'll see some more aggressive driving than what we saw on Thursday, but I think it'll be more similar to the Xfinity side than it was on the truck side.
Expect to see some really good action here tonight. Like you said, this is the last race of this round, so people are going to be trying their hardest to make it into that final round of the playoffs, which is a guaranteed payout for each driver. We'll get into that a little bit later on. But let's go ahead and check out the league details and what we've been doing here at Speed Racing Network. We are in week 19 of a 20-week season, so we are at the very end, and the action is just ramping up here on SRN. We got fixed setup league here in Cup and all of our series, but the specific thing that's different with the Cup series, you see it there, is the no fast repairs, and these guys really have to take care of their stuff out there.
Yeah, it's a total game changer. Definitely adds to the realism factor of the sim that you get on iRacing. But it's very different than what we see. The trucks, you get 2 fast repairs. Xfinity, you get 1. And that just changes the driving style. It makes it where you have to be a lot more protective of the car when you don't have that backup with the fast repair. We even see on the Pro Invitational Series when they run that on Wednesday nights that they wind up having that 1 fast repair. So for a league to do it without any, very realistic, very challenging for the drivers, just makes it where you have to be on edge a little bit more, and it just ups that difficulty just a little bit.
Yeah, and something else that also ups that difficulty is that $15 a week entry fee. These guys, that's not a cheap entry fee, given most of the leagues through iRacing that we see. So that also helps ramp up the action, as well as help encourage these guys to keep it clean out there, get that car to the end to possibly get one of the payouts that we're going to see a little bit later on. So, and now, like I said, we have weekly and season payouts as well, with a $1,000 first place prize, and 5-person teams are allowed with that team championship down there. So there's a lot going on. We already have the team championship wrapped up, but like I said, this is the last race of this round to get into that final round of the playoffs. So it's going to be very interesting out there tonight.
Oh, super interesting. And you mentioned that $15 entry fee being a little bit high, but also the payouts at the end of the season are pretty high in its own right as well. So there is good reason with it. Here are our race payouts for tonight's race, the Great Lakes 200. It's the top 3 will be paid out based on our field thus far, with the winner taking $45, second place $30, third place getting their money back, that they can either pocket or put to use to next week, should they not have done that already.
Yeah, and we usually pay out 1st through 7th, but it kind of happens when we get a little bit later on in the season and people are starting to get eliminated from the playoffs. Our fields get a little bit smaller, but the racing doesn't get any worse. It's still top-notch racing out there. So if you guys are interested in joining next season, just to know that we pay more than typically 3 cars out there, but this is what we're going to see tonight with a roughly 16 to 20 car field out there. But let's go ahead and check out those season payouts that we were just talking about that these guys are racing for. And this is the chunk of change that you want to see in your hand at the end of 20 weeks here at SRN. In first place, highlighted in green, going to come away with a grand That is pretty awesome, Brandon. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you don't see many leagues on iRacing that hit four figures. I mean, sure, you're looking at like the pro guys that get out there, that'll get up there, but not many leagues have this kind of payout structure. $1,000 for the champion. All five of the championship five get a season payout. They are guaranteed with 600 to second, 350 to third, 225 to fourth, and 150 to fifth. And if you do the math, $15 a week. You're looking at 20 weeks on the season. Even if you don't get anything on a weekly payout, you get third place. You're still making more than you had in entry fees over the season. And then we also have our team championship, $300 to our winning team that can be split out over those drivers.
Yeah, if you're going to be making it up here in this final round, you are definitely making it into the payout window at least a few races during the season. So there is a lot of cash to be had here at SRN, but let's go ahead and check out something else that we like to offer to our drivers here that also encourages more clean racing out there. It's our Clean Driver Award presented by Butt Kicker, and right now the leader is Gabriel Ellison from Filthy Five Motorsports, but not too far behind is Dean Brummett for RSR, and these two teams are always neck and neck when it comes to these awards.
Oh yeah, and they've both been highly impressive in terms of keeping the car clean, but also being competitive and fast in the process. Those two both in the playoffs. Gabriel Ellison has probably one of the best stats you'll see on iRacing with just one incident point in the last 6 races going back to Richmond. Unbelievable what he's done here late in the season, keeping that car clean. But we've also got close races in the trucks and Xfinity. Those guys will also be up for that as well. I know I'm somewhat close to that in the truck side myself, but if you don't win this, you can always use our discount code SRNVS20, get 20% off on your order for a butt kicker.
These are not a cheap piece of equipment, running around $180. I'm not sure if shipping's included with that usually, but that's going to save you $30 per butt kicker that you get. So that is a nice promo code that we offer here with SRN. And the things just keep coming when it comes down to SRN offering things to their drivers, as well as community members joining us here on these broadcasts. And something that I always encourage people to take advantage of if you really want to up your game here on the sim is some Kane Cook sim coaching. And I was very skeptical at first until I noticed a few guys who were a little bit down in the dumps earlier on in the season go into Kane Cook, and they completely turned their game around. And I finally bit and did the same, and I can say for a fact that I have had a major improvement in my performance.
Yeah, not gonna lie, if I had a little bit better luck there last Wednesday in the truck side, this was gonna be something I was gonna reach out about immediately for Texas, just to kind of get a little bit more of an edge there. But Kane, he's worked with a few drivers I know that had a quick turnaround similar to what you were talking about, and just being more confident drivers even goes a long way when you have a fixed setup league. Everybody's running the same thing for the most part. There's only a couple things we can change, but the way that you drive on the track and the confidence that you carry goes a long way with that kind of format. And it seems like everybody that's worked with Kane has had positive changes in both those regards.
Yeah, and you expect that when you go and you get a coach that is racing every week in that Coke series, which is the top premier series within iRacing. There are no slouches up there. And he is known as a hard charger, so he likes to run from the back and kind of work his way up. And he can help you get the skills to do that, which is coming down to like tire conservation. Or if you want to do something else, he can help you with your qualifying trim to help you get up front and stay up front. He really knows everything that you need to know with the sim. He's done it for a while. He's got 2 accounts that are over 7,000 iRating. So if this is something that interests you, you can book your session on speedracingnetwork.com. It's really easy to do, and they'll get you all squared away. So let's go ahead and move on now to show our team championship here. And right there, you see it on your screen. Presented by Tropical Smoothie Cafe, our Cup Series team champions are Roel Smith Racing, and they've earned themselves $300 split 5 ways between all of them. So that is a nice little bonus on top of what I'm expecting to be a good payday if some of these guys get into the final round of the playoffs.
Yeah, and with Roel Smith Racing, that was just a fantastic performance all season long. Definitely deserving of this team championship. And I mean, they've got multiple drivers that we're going to talk about here in a second that are inside the playoffs and still going for that championship. They may take up a large percentage of the championship five, even. So it just goes to show how dominant they were this season, and the group that they put together did a lot of hard work during the season, and definitely paid off.
Yeah, Filthy Five Motorsports definitely made them sweat a little bit during the season, but they were able to pull it off and well deserved. And we always like to thank Tropical Smoothie Cave for coming on board this year and presenting these team championship payouts. So go ahead and check them out. They got a bunch of stuff to offer as well. But let's go ahead and move on to our Tier 2 playoffs presented by Flavor Bomb. You can check them out at fbbq.com, bbbq.com, excuse me. But yeah, this is just another thing that we like to offer the drivers that don't necessarily have the best season or joined a little bit later on in the season. It gives them a little bit something to race for while the rest of these guys are duking it out for those season championship payouts.
Yeah, and most notably, you look at those two names at the top of the list, Max Service and Joshua Balliet. They have been fantastic since the second tier playoff began, and they're close on this. Just 4 points separating those two. Now we do have the drop week factored in. We are dropping the lowest scoring point week over these 7 races, going back to the start of the playoff for everybody. But Service has been just consistently up front. Joshua Balliet has gotten white hot in the past couple weeks, and Chris Massey's been hanging in there as well for Bronco Motorsports. He's still in contention, 20 points back.
Yeah, these two at the top, being teammates, have run really well, and there was a good battle between them last week at Charlotte, and that gap got a little bit smaller, and we're seeing that on there, only 4 points separating them with 2 weeks, and it's going to heat up between them, so I'm excited to see how that translates onto the track. But right now, we're going to go ahead and check out our current playoff standings, the guys that are racing for that $1,000 prize here. And at the top of the board, we're seeing Jake Roel with a 9-point lead on his teammate Jacob Smith.
Yeah, I mean, Roel Smith Racing are the team champions. You got Roel in first and Smith in second. So it's a good showing of why that team was as good as they were. We also have Gabriel Ellison, Mr. Consistency here in the Cup Series. He's sitting in that tie for second place, 9 points back. Scott Healy, another Roel Smith Racing driver, in fourth. James Holzer out of Team SRN in fifth. And you think about it, like those 5, they're up there right now. But you only have a couple of points back to Austin Reedy in 6th, who unfortunately he will not be here tonight. Scott Kalal in 7th, only 8 points back, but then Latham and Brummett only a couple points behind him. So everybody's still pretty much in that not safe position going into this race if they have a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, second place on down. I'd say Jake is pretty safe unless he has something really catastrophic happen to his race tonight. But, from second on down, like you said, nobody is safe. And, Kyle Spees is eliminated as of right now and will not be able to make it to the final round. But 6th through 9th is going to be racing harder than they have all season to try to get through there. Unfortunately, like you said, Austin Reedy not going to be here tonight. But 7th, 8th, and 9th, we're going to see them and all the cards on the table tonight. But let's go ahead and break down all these guys that we have racing tonight for this last couple spots in the playoffs. And first, we're going to have Jake Roel. And Jake had 4 wins in the regular season, but he has winless in the postseason until the past weekend at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Now we're at his home track, a track where he actually worked for a few years. And with the momentum of last week's win, coupled with his knowledge about this particular track, Jake has to be one of the favorites this week. And with Austin Reedy being out for the race today, Jake Roel is pretty much locked in the playoff 5 just by showing up tonight. And I can tell you he is here, but he'll still want a big race at his home track nonetheless.
And the co-captain for RSR, Jacob Smith, everyone knows that he is amazing on road courses, but very few drivers saw him as this big of a threat on ovals as we went through the season, and especially the postseason. They better start paying attention because he has a 10-point lead on the cut line, so he's in a very comfortable spot tonight. Add 4 points to that with the change there with Austin Reedy being out. And not to mention, being from Michigan, this is his home track as well. If he finishes 6th or better, he is locked in. We might have to add a couple positions there with the changes. I just don't see that being a problem for him tonight.
To bounce back after a rough week last week as well. But third place, we're going to have Gabriel Ellison Jake has one win in the playoffs. Jacob has 2 wins in the playoffs, but none of the playoff drivers can claim to have had a better playoffs than Gabriel Ellison. Not only has he kept his 16 top 10 streak alive, but he's also been in the top 5 every single playoff race so far. He comes into this race averaging a third place starting position and a third place finishing position throughout the playoffs. On top of that, he only has 1 incident point throughout the entire playoffs as well. Gabriel Ellison is money, and consistency is key when it comes down to these things.
Also the best dressed in our photos there. And next up, we got Scott Healy. Scott got a big runner-up finish at Charlotte last week. And with Austin Reedy out tonight, that puts him 9 points ahead of the cut line coming into this race. It'll take something big for Scott to get knocked out of the playoffs at this point, and he's had an excellent run throughout the postseason. He's averaging an 8th place finish in these last 5 races, which is even better than his average finish throughout the regular season. So when the playoff spot is on the line, Scott is one of those drivers that you can trust to follow through.
Now, our top 5 that are currently inside the cut is going to be James Holzer. And now, technically, James Holzer is the cut line, but he's only 1 point behind Scott Healy and 2 points behind Jacob Smith and Gabriel Ellison. If we're comparing apples to apples, at the only other 2-mile track on the schedule, James took 2nd place. He had no incident points in that race, so he likes the races that are on bigger tracks where there's a lot of space to move around. That's what we have tonight at Michigan. I think he has a big chance to stay in the final 5 of the playoffs, but he also has a great chance of winning this race tonight as well, which would be huge for him.
Without question. First driver behind the cut line, and we do know now he will not make our Championship 5, is Austin Reedy. Austin did let us know last week that he wouldn't be able to make the race tonight, so his season is over in regards to title hopes. Well, let's take a second to be impressed with how far he's come this season. He only had 3 top 5s and 5 top 10s throughout the regular season, yet somehow he not only made the playoff top 10, but he had a decent shot at making it through to the Championship 5 in Texas. He's the first driver on the list tonight that doesn't have a win this season. Just goes to show how consistent he has been, especially in the playoff. He'll be a force next season if he does come back.
Absolutely. We hope we see him back as well. So 7th place, our first driver that's going to be trying to make it inside the cut tonight is Scott Kalal in that 23 machine. If we're marveling at Austin Reedy making it this far, take a look at Scott Kalal. He only had 1 top 10 all throughout the regular season. Now he's making a big run in the playoffs where he has had a 2nd place finish and 3 other top 10s. He's going to have to go big tonight to make up the 8 points between himself and the cut line, but he's got a chance at it. He's a really clean driver with his only incident points in the postseason being at COTA, where the track limits were really narrow. If he keeps it clean tonight and gets a little bit of luck, he could make it interesting.
He sure could, and somebody else that could definitely make this interesting is Timothy Latham, and I have to be honest, I did not expect to see Timothy in the 8th position at this point in the postseason. We're used to seeing him closer to the top. Unfortunately, with the smaller fields throughout the playoffs, his 9th place average finish in this round has put him behind the 8 ball. He's going to need a win and some help to sneak in, but a win here wouldn't shock anyone at all. In fact, he's only had 5 races outside of the top 10 all season long, even when the driver fields were much larger. Don't give up on Timothy Latham just yet. You might see some magic tonight.
Speaking of someone else we're not used to seeing down this far in the list, Dean Brummett is going to be in our 9th place position. And when you're the 2nd cleanest driver in the league, you expect to get some big finishes throughout the season. And Dean has done just that. He's got 1 win on the season and 4 other top 5s. But just like with Timothy Latham, the last 2 weeks have not been the best races for him. He's finished 10th twice, and during the regular season, most drivers would be thrilled with back-to-back top 10s. But these are the playoffs, and only 5 can make it through. Like Latham, Dean needs max points tonight, and in addition to some serious help in order to make it.
And last on the list is going to be Kyle Spees, and Kyle missed the first race of this round. Looks like he might be missing this race as well, but it's why missing that first race is why he's 37 points behind the cut line at this point. Fortunately, as long as the other 9 drivers show up, Kyle is out of the playoffs, but like Austin Reedy, let's take a look back at his season. In 15 races, he had 6 top 5s, 10 top 10s. He's one of only 4 drivers to average better than a 10th place finish throughout the season. So Kyle is fast. There's no doubt about that. In the playoffs, he was averaging a third-place finish if you take away the race he missed at Coda. If the scheduling had worked out, I think Kyle would have been one of the final 5, or at least definitely on the verge of it. But as it sits, he will be eliminated after tonight.
Fortunate, but these things pop up and people end up missing races, and it was unfortunate timing for him, but a great season nonetheless. But let's go ahead and get out to the track and see what we're looking like as far as our starting lineup goes tonight. And you see it at the top there. Mr. Michigan himself, Jake Rowell, is going to be our pole sitter with Gabriel Ellison just behind him, only 300ths off of his pace.
Close there. James Holzer and Scott Kowal, a couple of other playoff drivers, are going to be in row number 2. Row 3, we'll see Dean Brummett still within 500ths of a second of the pole time, and Greg Wellen, and we haven't seen a whole lot of in the past few weeks. Good to see him back. He'll be starting in 6th.
It's awesome to see Greg out here tonight. 7th is going to be Joshua Balliet, one of those drivers fighting for that Tier 2 championship. He's going to be starting a little bit ahead of his teammate there. And Scott Healy, another RSR driver, is going to be in the 8th position with the 64 car. Dave Fuge Jr. in the 14 machine is going to be starting in 9th place tonight. And another name that we haven't seen in quite a while, Ted Rekich, is back out there in the starting lineup as well in that 91 car. He's going to be rounding out our top 10.
Yeah, a couple of other guys that are trying to get in that running for the Tier 2 championship. We'll have Landon Lacey out of Filthy 5. Will be starting 11th. Chris Massey, 3rd place in the Tier 2 championship out of Bronco Motorsports, will round out row number 6. And the top 12 here. We'll take a look at the rest of the field as well, as we do have a smaller field tonight. Row 7 is going to be Justin Boyles, still within a tenth of a second of the pole time. Very close qualifying. Timothy Latham, he's got some work to do tonight. He'll be starting in 14th. With Jacob Smith and Danny Setzer in row 8, and Max Service, the Tier 2 leader, starting in 17th out of our field of 17. A couple big notable names there with Jacob Smith 15th and Timothy Latham 14th.
Yeah, I was really about to talk about Jacob Smith right there. That is not where he wants to be starting tonight. If he's trying to make it into that next round of these playoffs, coming into this week, he is in that top 5, but not by much. So he is going to really have to keep that car clean while passing a lot of cars to get it done. But you see the man right there. He is the Michigan native who is starting on the pole tonight. So, Brandon, I will give you first dibs. Who you taking tonight?
All right, so Jake picked me on Wednesday. I could return the favor and possibly jinx him tonight, but I will not do that. I will be a good broadcast partner to my Thursday night partner, and I'm going to throw the jinx talk aside now as I say this one. I'm going to go with somebody that was fast in practice, fast in qualifying, and the man on the bubble. I'm going to say James Holzer in the 42.
Oh, you took my pick. All right, well, I'm going to make it interesting, and I'm going to go with someone who's a little desperate tonight, and I have to imagine he has been working a lot with his teammates this week to get into that cut. I'm going to go with that 25 machine of Dean Brummett starting in 5th. I didn't want to make it easy and take Jake. We know Jake's going to be strong tonight, but as the pace car pulls off, he is going to have command of this field, and he's going to be able to go when he wants, and I expect him to get a nice little jump on Gabriel. You see it right there. We are green at the Great Lakes 200.
And that jump was not only beneficial to Rowell, it was beneficial to James Holzer, who's got the inside line. And with the way that the 9 cleared out away from the 20, Stefan Holzer followed him through the door, and he's going to take the 2nd spot. And he's going to get clear of Ellison by a pretty good margin.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how these lines work their way out. I know it's a little different between the trucks and Xfinity on Wednesday and Thursday. It seemed like the trucks were able to use that high line a little bit more, and you save a little bit more tires, I know, in Xfinity down the low line. So we're going to see drivers all over this track as you see them using about 4 lanes right there through the turn. And right now, we got a battle back here. Scott Healy's starting to drop back a little bit after he started 5th. He's already fallen back 2 or 3 positions. I think he's in 7th right now.
Yeah, lost a couple spots. Not sure what happened there. He might have just gotten trapped in a bad or an uncomfortable spot. And when you're only a couple points ahead of that cut line, you don't want to be in a bad spot this early. So he might have chosen to say, you know what, let me just back out of this a little bit and just make it up here over the next 99 laps around this track.
Very long race. This is such a big track, so you're running about, 30, 40-second lap times here. It's going to take a little while. We got a long time to go. So like you said, he doesn't want to push it too much just yet, but right now, that guy in the blue car, I feel like he is trying to get up to the front and lead some laps. He needs max points tonight to get into the next round of the playoffs. And we do offer bonus points per lap led and most laps. So Dean Brummett is really working hard right now to get by. He already got by great Gabriel Ellison. He's working on James Holzer right now in that 42 machine, so he's going to be taking a peek to the inside, it looks like here, possibly going into turn 3. He's going to just hold on to this line for now and kind of feel out the 42, but some good racing early on and showing a strong car here in the 25 machine.
Yeah, he's got that Kyle Larson-inspired look to his car and trying to recreate some of the magic that Larson has had the past couple of weeks, and Dean off to a good start, picking up a couple spots early.
Yeah, he's going to be taking a look yeah, he's taking a look in the inside here at James Holzer. He's probably going to be able to clear him too if he gets a little help from his teammate. But yeah, we got battles all over the racetrack right now. For only a 17-car field, this is going to be an awesome race because we don't expect these cars to get too separated. You know, if it's able to keep the draft, you're going to have a tight pack of cars here and battles all over. And these two are still side by side.
Yeah, and I brought it up Thursday during the Xfinity race that it's different in a lot of ways, but there are some similarities to the plate tracks or the super speedways like Daytona and Talladega when it comes to racing here. In Cup cars and Xfinity and trucks even, with the way that the draft works out, there's still this pack race mentality that you can get on the track. Now, with 17 cars, they can spread out a little bit. The bonus here is that while you do have about 5 lanes of space, this still puts it in the driver's hands a lot more than those plate tracks do, because handling still will become a factor, especially if you get sucked up into that draft heavy enough. You got to learn that balance and how to save the tires a lot more than you would at Daytona Talladega, but we still will see racing like this with this bit of a hornet's nest feel at times.
Yeah, the tires, once they start to go here, it is no fun. These guys will just start pulling away from you like it's nothing. It looks like Dean Brummett trying to settle in here as he pulls in line behind Greg Wellen in the 94 machine, who has picked up quite a few positions already to start this race. Kind of under attack between 91 and 27, just behind him. They're battling it out. But Dean Brummett's going to need to save his stuff. He's in a good position right now, running fourth, and could see his teammate up front. He's just going to kind of have to tick off some laps here to see how the tire wear is going to, hinder these drivers ahead of him, so he can kind of start to work his way up to the front. But right now, Jake Rowell is not looking like he is going to be letting go of this lead anytime soon.
Out in front, got that clean air. It's not incredibly difficult to make a pass here, but you do have to do some work to set it up against somebody that is out in front and is a solid defensive driver while in the lead like Rowell is. And one thing to keep an eye on, it's still way early before we'll start seeing any action on this, but the fuel window is about 30 to 34 laps, depending on how you control the throttle around here with the draft. I know out in front by yourself, if you're just going all out, it's about 32, but if you can conserve it a little bit, you might be able to stretch this into a 2-stop race should it go green the entire way. So don't be surprised if you see some guys kind of sit back for a little bit and try to play that fuel strategy early.
Yeah, if we get one caution, that throws everything out the window. The tires, new tires here are a game changer. You pick up so much time each lap on older tires, so curious to see how that works itself out. Kind of everybody's settling in, it looks like, but Ted Rekich still kind of working on the inside of that 27 machine. He's on the inside of the 23 of Scott Kalal right now. He's going to have to get back up. That inside line is not where you want to be for too long because the outside will typically prevail early on in these laps that start out the runs. But, as the runs go on, that inside will start to work, So right now, Scott Healy is going to take a look to the inside. He's going to have to clear him and maybe kind of slide up in front of Ted, but he's going to do it here on the front stretch before we even get to the turns.
Yeah, that inside line will work once you get later into the run for making some passes, but I really like the high side, especially early on, just because it does let you save the tires a little bit. It's less aggressive on them than having that tight inside turn. I think you also get a better run pace-wise coming off it because you do hold a little bit more speed on the outside as well. So there's a two-pronged factor there on why it's better to probably run out high. That's my personal taste. But you do see a lot of drivers that made that inside work Thursday night and Wednesday night. So we might see that here too, where there's some people that kind of go a little bit off that high line and just be a little bit more aggressive with the tires, but know how to conserve them anyway.
Someone taking a peek to that high side right now is that 42 machine of James Holzer looking to take the lead from Jake Rowell, not able to do so through that turn. But he's letting him know, hey, I'm here as he knocks on the rear bumper there.
Hello.
Going into 2 and 3. Yeah, he is there and ready to get by Jake Ruel. But Jake, being the winningest driver in SRN history, knows what he's doing right now. He is cool as a cucumber, I bet. Those 8 wins are not easy to come by. So this man definitely has what it takes to get it done. And he is not going to be watching the mirror and wondering where James Holzer is going. James is really going to have to work to get by him.
Yeah, and Jake also has that good knowledge now. 17 drivers in the field, even without any bonus points. Just by starting tonight, he was locked in. As with Austin Reedy out, he's 19 points clear of Scott Kalal, who would be the next driver, or the first driver one position out once you remove Reedy. So Roel is in. He can drive this race with a lot less stress than everybody else in the playoff. So that might also help him out a little bit, just be a little bit less on edge, a little looser behind the wheel. Might go a long way tonight.
Yeah, and that also gives him the opportunity to focus on his teammates that are trying to make it inside the cut as well. So, like you said, a lot less pressure for Jake, but, some of his drivers do have that pressure going into this week, so it's not total cakewalk for Jake tonight, although he is just going to try and have fun tonight and pull out the win at his home track. Like we said, he worked here for a while, so he definitely wants the bragging rights to go back to Roel Smith Racing with the win from the Great Lakes 200 tonight. But kind of, sorting itself out right now. We're 12 laps into this run. We're about halfway through that fuel run. If they could stretch it a little bit further to like lap 32, 33, you said earlier, we're going to have to see if they can do that. But almost halfway through this fuel run.
Yeah, and look, it is I'm not going to say it's a long shot, but it is a stretch to think that we get another green flag race like we saw Thursday night. But it is something that is possible and something to keep an eye on. You can plan on it happening, and if it doesn't, then you just go, all right, well, it didn't happen. But if you don't plan on it happening and it does, and you're caught out where you need that extra stop and some others were thinking about it, that puts you in a really bad position. So it's better to kind of think ahead and prepare for it to happen than not.
Oh, yeah. You've always got to be planning for the worst when it comes into racing. So, you expect cautions to happen, and when they don't, that's usually when it kind of messes up your strategy. So you got to have everything going on in your head, prepared for everything. We got lucky on Thursday, had a really good, clean race in the Xfinity Series. But tonight with these big spoilers on these Cup cars, I expect these cars to not really break loose on any of these drivers. And with how big this track is, this thing could very well go green the whole time. And I just feel like that benefits one driver, and I think we're both thinking it, and that's Jake Ruel, who seems to be the best on the long runs.
Yeah, and the only problem that he'll have is that he doesn't have the benefit of the draft to work with in front of him. Because he's going to have to be, he's the one that is punching the hole through the air for everybody else. He's not going to have that benefit to really get some conserving on the fuel mileage as much as James Holzer or anybody else behind him would, because they can use the throttle a little bit less and still be just as fast by just settling into the draft.
Well, you see back there in third, that 25 machine just passed Greg Welland. Greg's going to kind of take a look and peek in the inside, but he's going to let Dean Brummett go right now. I think Dean's probably saved his tires a little bit more. And Dean knows what's at stake, so he knows it's a long race right now. He's doing what he needs to do. Greg has got a good run on him, though, coming down the front stretch. We'll have to see if he takes a look to the inside, even though that's not where he wants to be to make a pass. He's just going to push him. He's going to try to get Dean Brummett back up here to these guys as the front two kind of pull away.
Wow, that was a big-time push down the front straightaway, and that's not easy to pull off cleanly. That's a good job by both Dean and Greg by making sure that they held that thing straight as they were going around that D-shaped portion of the Michigan International Speedway, which is a little bit trickier than you would think if you're doing a push draft like that was. But Dean got a good run into turn one. He pulled away just a little bit, and now he's starting to pull away from Welland and continue to hold that and close the door on Holzer a little bit as he's now within 3/10.
Yeah, they're definitely starting to catch this pack as they were starting to put about a 7/10 lead on them. They are narrowing that down. Greg Welland's going to go way high this time, as he does every time. It gets a really good run. We'll have to see if he tries to take a look on the inside of Dean Brummett this time. Not going to be able to get to that bumper as quickly as he wants, but Holzer is doing what he needs to do to get past Jake Ruel now. He's going to see if he can pull off a slide job. He's going to have to slide up in front of this 9. That's the only way this is going to work, because Jake is going to get a run off the 4 here.
He's not quite clear to try that slide job as Roel kept the nose right around, I would say, that right rear tire. It wasn't by much, but he was still there. And behind them, we see Welland get around Brummett. That'll be for the third position as we continue to be slightly side by side. Roel got a good run into turn one, drove it in a little bit deeper. And on the exit, that'll be the only thing that I'll be curious about, but he still holds about a car length advantage over Holzer, who's now under attack from that 94, and Welland with a good showing here as he continues a bit of a part-time schedule here in the second half of the season, but making it work well today as he's up to the second position, and that also opens the door for Brummett to possibly look for third again.
Yeah, Dean Brummett's really going to have to decide where he wants to make these moves. He's Greg Welland getting it done, so he needs to realize that, hey, I can do this as well. Greg Welland got a good pull off of James Holzer that last lap on the front stretch, which helped him clear Dean Brummett, and then just the draft from the 42 gave him a good run down the backstretch. Really using that draft well here at Michigan. He's got one more car to pass, and we'll see if he can get past that 9 machine and take the lead in one of his first races back here at SRN. But right now, we got a battle back here for 5th. Scott Healy, well, this is for 6th, excuse me. Scott Healy trying to make a move on Scott Kalal, the battle of the Scots as they come out of 4. Scott Kalal is going to have the preferred lane on the high side, but Healy's able to keep a good run and maybe going to pull off a little bit of side draft. Nope, he just shuts the door right in front of him.
That was a nice aggressive move there that worked from Kalal on the 23, cutting down just as he got clear. Good job if he's got a spotter in his ear. Some people use live spotters. Some people use the apps that'll do that for them if he's got a live spotter. That was a great job by them as Kalal will hold on to the 6th position. And what about this up front? We've got Roel under heavy attack now from Welland and Holzer as they're all lined up less than a car length apart between each of them.
Yeah, I really want to see, Dean Brummett get up here in this action too. And the only way I think he's going to be able to do that is by running that line that Greg Welland was doing to get back up here, way like 4 lanes up on the turns and really getting a good run off. But right now, he's just going to get a good entry in there. He is there now as he got really close to the bumper of the 42. 42 is taking a peek to the inside of the 94. We have a heck of a battle on hand for this lead.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how much Roel is blocking right now, and just, it's not anything aggressive. He's just trying to use the mirror and get in the line that second place is using, whether it be Holzer or Welland. This early in the race, for somebody that doesn't need to be out in front for playoff consideration, it's just for this race tonight only, so he's already locked into the Championship 5. Surprising how defensive he's been driving here with 80 laps to go.
Well, it doesn't matter if it's a preseason exhibition. Jake is going to do what he has to do to keep that lead, and he is just running the exact same line as our second-place car, which is kind of stalling them out, not able to get that run that they need to potentially take a look to the inside or maybe even the outside if they have the ability to. So he's doing a great job so far as we are nearing even closer to those green flag stops. So we're going to find out real soon if these guys think that they can do that 2-stop strategy. If they don't think they can do that, I expect to see them coming down within the next 3 or 4 laps.
Yeah, I agree with that. If you're going to make this a 3-stop race, or you're going to plan on it being a 3-stop race, it would make a lot of sense to come in around lap 25 to 28. If you're trying to make it a 2-stop race and you do not pit after lap 32, incredibly difficult to think that you're going to be able to make it on 1 stop the rest of the way.
Oh, we have a look here from James Holzer going into 3. He's going to have to make this slide job. He's going to have to slide up in front. Here he goes. He's going to slide up, and Jake is going to take a look to the inside here, and I don't think Jake is going to be able to get the momentum he needs to make it happen as he blinks out right there. He's going to come back, and he's going to be right on the bumper of the 42. He's going to have the high line going into turn 1, which I'd have to say is the line to take if you want to make this pass happen. We have a heck of a battle for the lead right now on lap 24.
Roel does have the high line, which is what he needs, but Holzer got what he needs as well, as that's the 7th race. 7th race in the last 8 that Holzer has led. Keep in mind, we do have the bonus point for leading a lap, so Holzer has picked up that 1 extra point. So mission complete there as far as getting that 1 point help in his case for advancing to the next round.
That battle itself has brought with 7 cars within a second of the lead. So it is borderline restrictor plate racing right now as we have all these cars up here within grasp of our leader. So don't change your channel right now, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. This is just starting, and it is getting interesting. Jake Rowell able to hold on to the lead for now, but has been under attack these last couple of laps.
And I'll say, too, with 9 drivers within 1.25 seconds, if anybody's trying to make this on 2 stops, I don't think it's going to come from these 9. It's going to be somebody outside from 10th, which is currently Ted Rekich on back, because these guys are going at such an aggressive pace, staying in line with each other and making all these constant moves against each other, that they're going to be going full throttle, as opposed to some of the guys in the back that might be conserving a little bit more.
Yeah, there are a lot of guys that are a little bit further on back. You see Max Service 7 seconds back, who is racing for a Tier 2 championship, which has a decent payout within itself, brought to us by Flavor Bomb. He could be saving now that he knows he's lost the draft a little bit, running a little bit less throttle through the straightaways and turns. And you got Dave Fuchs Jr., Chris Massey, who's 3rd place in our Tier 2 championships, running back there as well. So we could be seeing a lot of strategies unfolding right before our eyes, and we don't know for sure what they are actually doing. So we're going to find out real soon. We're in that window where we said if they're going to do it on 3 stops, it's time to do it now. And I have to imagine, by the way that nobody has peeled off yet, that they are going to try the 2-stop strategy.
Yeah, I'm starting to think we should be seeing somebody, I would imagine, coming in from this pack.
Justin
and here's
Boyles
our first stop.
Yep.
Is it's Justin Boyles is in. I believe I saw Danny Setzer in as well in the 17. Those are the first 2. They were near the back. They weren't in that top 9 group coming into this lap. And Dean Brummett has moved into the 2nd position. And you see, just with all that passing and jostling for position for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, look at how much Jake Rowell has checked out. He's now 0.6 of a second clear of 2nd.
Yeah, but with these guys in a line, and if they just don't race each other, which I have to imagine James Holter is going to get a little racy here, as he probably wants that 2nd position back. If they could just get in the line, they will have no problem running Jake Rowell back down. But Dean still has a little bit of whiff of that draft, and I have to imagine he's getting a decent pull from what it looks like, as he's kind of gapping the 42 right now, and he's only a half a second off of his teammate there in the 9 car.
Nice side-by-side battle here for 3rd. This is Holzer in the Big Mac car with every color under the sun on the outside, and Scott Healy in the black and yellow on the inside. Both above the cut line coming in 4th and 5th. So they were only a few points ahead. 8 points for Holzer, 9 points for Healy, and both doing what they need to be doing tonight to make sure that they advance.
And they see how well Scott Kalal is running there in the 7th position. He's definitely within the mix of these cars as well. So it is definitely important for Scott Haley to get up there. He sees Dean Brummett as well up in 2nd, even though he's his teammate and he wants to see him doing well. That is a potential spot in the playoffs that could be taken from him. So, top 3 right now, Rowell Smith Racing, but they have a lot to be racing for at this moment. So if Dean Brummett can get up there and get to his teammate's bumper in that 9 car, we'll see exactly what this 25 car has on these long runs.
And speaking of long run, we're now 30 laps into this, so if you can make it another 3 laps, you do have the chance at making this a 2-stop race. As far as I tested, it was 32 to 34. There might be, with this draft, maybe some people are stretching out to 35. But that's going to be a reach, as it's about 0.4 of a gallon used per lap. We don't use the full 18.7 gallon tank in SRN. We do use 70% capacity, so we do kind of force a little bit more pit stop action. As we see, moving back up here to Scott Kalal in the black and green 23, under attack from Joshua Balliet, who, if it ended right now, would actually be taking the lead in the Tier 2 playoff.
Yeah, having a great run so far with his teammate Max Service back there in 13th, doing exactly what he needs to get in contention to win that thing within the final weeks. But I want to go ahead and pay attention to those bottom 2 green drivers, Jacob Smith and Timothy Latham, not exactly having the runs that they were hoping to have. Maybe their tires fell off a little bit more than they were anticipating and not able to be even running in the top 10 right now. So these guys, if they want to make that final round of the playoffs, I have to imagine Jacob Smith is sweating bullets right now with not much gap between him and, Scott Kalal. Scott Kalal running up there in, what is he? He's 9th place right now. So not too far ahead, but Scott was running further up earlier, so it's going to get interesting if Jacob Smith can't pick up any more spots.
Yeah, it's going to be close. He's still in a decently comfortable position, being 10 points clear entering this race. Gabriel Ellison is currently running 5th, also in the same spot, as we're starting to hear some drivers start saying that they're going to be making pit stops. And the first little leaders is actually going to be the actual leader, Jake Rowell, first one in. And Ted Rekich coming in, yes, is... For the 9 car, I think that totally has to do with the fact that he's been leading this entire time. And like we mentioned earlier, if you're the one punching the hole in the air, you are using more gas than anybody else would be using behind you.
Yeah, it's going to be, Dean Brummett. He did get that last lap lead on my scoring.
Yep, big point
he
there.
Got a big point that he needs to move into the next round. He's doing everything he needs to, and I'll have to see if he's going to come down this time, kind of setting himself up potentially. Yep, he's going to come down with his teammate Scott Healy, and it's going to be close for Jake Rowell, coming down on lap 32, going over lap 33.
Ooh, a little hot there.
Yeah, hopefully Dean is not going to get a speeding penalty there, as that would really hurt his chances. Jacob Smith and Scott Kalal also coming down for service, as well as Max Service coming down to get his first pit stop of the day.
And Holzer now takes the lead. He already led a lap earlier. He's already gotten on saying that he's going to be pitting. Sounds like most everybody else is going to pit this time by, and that does leave it open for the 2-stop strategy. So they've now shown they can go 34 laps. They'll only have to do 2 runs of 33 the rest of the way. So we do know it's possible for this group, and the group that came in the last time by, but it's going to be drivers like Jake Rowell that might be in trouble if everybody can't stretch this into a 2-stop race.
Yeah, Landon Lacey coming in a little bit hot there. We got Timothy Latham as well, his teammate coming in. I'm actually really surprised to see, and you see just how big a gap that Jake Rowell is going to get on Dean Brummett on the 1-lap fresher tires. But I was really surprised. Scott Healy must have been close on fuel. I'm surprised he did not stay out as well to get that lap lead.
That was something I was thinking about as well. If you know, and they're on the same team channel, and you hear Dean Brummett calling, I'm going to be pitting this time by, I have to imagine that Healy wasn't going to be able to make it around one more lap, or else he should have stayed out, picked up a bonus point, because he's only a handful of points clear of that cut line coming into this race. 1 point can go a long, long way, so I have to imagine he had less than a lap of fuel left.
We're going to see Jake Rowell. He's out to a 2nd lead now over his teammate Dean Brummett. That's a nice little gap. Dean Brummett has 1-lap fresher tires, which might make a little bit of a difference. He's starting to narrow it down a little bit. But yeah, not sure what happened to James Holzer here. He's running back in the 10th position now, as well as Gabriel Ellison. He fell back to 9th. So a big shakeup in our top 10. Jacob Smith comes out in 6th place, which is far ahead of where he was running.
Yeah, and I don't believe anybody took 2 tires. That would be a brave strategy. So I'm wondering if either Holzer and Ellison, if they had a conservative entry, conservative exit to make sure that they didn't speed, or if they overshot the pit and had to back up and get back into their pit box, costing some time.
Yeah, Gabriel Ellison was 2 seconds slower going down pit lane, which you could see right there on our top 10 running order. That much time down pit road hurt him big time, as he's now looking. He was up there running with our leaders, and now he's looking about 6.5 seconds back. Can't really see it that well with the green, but that's what it looks like on my end. Dean Brummett's going to go ahead and take the lead from Jake Rowell here.
And this could be some strategy as well from Rowell, just to sit back and use the draft a little bit, because he knows at this point, hey, I got to go a couple extra laps longer. I'm short the rest of the way. I need to use that draft that I was giving everybody else on that first run.
Could exactly be what that is. But right now, our top 4 are really close to each other. He's going to probably let Ted Rekich go as well and just get a pull from these top 3 guys. But our new leader here at the Great Lakes 200, a man that needs as many points as he can get, is Dean Brummett in that 25 car. He is going to try to put all his cards out there on the table today and get that W and try everything he can to get into the final round after a not-so-stellar playoff so far. His teammate, though, Scott Healy, just behind him, is that guy on the bubble who is not wanting that to happen. Potentially it's going to push him out of the playoffs, so he's going to be giving it everything he can as well. We got a nice little battle here, and Ted Rekich looking very strong on that inside line. Oh, he's a lap down. Sorry, I didn't even realize that. My bad.
little Jeff Gordon moment there. We have that every now and then.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Well,
it's a little confusing.
Yeah, nonetheless, he looked very strong on the inside line. But,
Very good, clean pass, yeah. As he's going to be leading, and this actually helps from it, too.
Yep.
You're going to have the benefit of being out in front in the lead, but you still get the draft partner in front of you. So this is kind of a win-win here for Dean.
Yeah, Jake is wondering where that was when he needed it, but Jake is sitting in a good position just behind Dean. He's got his teammate Scott Healy behind them. We got the top three as RSR drivers, so this is working out perfectly for Will Smith Racing. But one guy who still needs to really dig down deep and to get into that final round is sitting there in that 8th place position. Under attack from Gabriel Ellison right now, and the hungry James Holzer just behind him is that 11 car, Jacob Smith.
And he got the benefit of the slow pit entries for Ellison and Holzer as Smith was able to move up a few spots. You saw him back in 11th and 12th position before the green flag pit stop cycle. Now he's up to 8th, now 9th as he's side by side with Ellison. So we got 3 playoff drivers above the cut line, sitting 5th, 6th, and 7th out of the playoff drivers alone coming into this race. Now they did have a bit of a gap back to Scott Kalal, who's only running in the 5th position, so they should still be safe at this point, but it's interesting to see how tight this is going to wind up. And these are 3 drivers that really have been in that grouping that's the class of the field, not just in the playoff, but all season long.
We're going to have a new contender up here shortly as we see that red and white car. Greg Wellen has been laying down some serious fast lap times. He has caught up to these top 3 RSR cars, and he is not going to let them just drive around and just, save some fuel. He's going to really put the pressure on here as he's taking Scott Healy. Take a look on the high side. He's going to try to get a good run off of this turn as he has done this whole race. He has really run that high line real well, and he's going to be able to get clear, and he's going to be having a fender on Scott Healy and potentially maybe have a look at Jake Rowell here too for 2nd place going into turn 1.
Wow, that was a power pass on the outside going into 1 from Wellen. Not sure if Healy backed off just a little bit or if that was just a power move there from the 94. But look at him making the run now on Jake Rowell. He's going to move into 2nd in the span of about 3/4 of a mile, passing 2/3 of this RSR train up front.
He's running 0.4 of a second faster a lap than these guys, so he is not saving fuel right now. He is feeling good about his scenario, and I have to imagine, after seeing his beginning of his season where he kind of burnt the tires off his stuff a little bit through a run and would fall back, it's looking like he has definitely improved his game. He's still hanging in here with these leaders, and he is now the leader of the Great Lakes 200.
4th leader of the day is going to be Greg Wellen, who, wow, that's just 3 straight passes on the outside in about a lap and a quarter. Unbelievable run for that 94.
Made it look like he has a different gear in that car. Hopefully it's going to pass post-race inspection with how fast that thing is right now. But Dean Bromet's going to have to make sure he does not lose that draft. He's pulled out to maybe a 3 or 4 car length lead. He is just moving right now.
It's got me wondering if maybe those 3 RSR cars in unison have just kind of backed off a little bit. Maybe just trying to make sure that they make it to the end of this race should it stay green.
It could be, and 3 heads are better than 1 as well, so they kind of probably have a strategy, and you saw them just let him go. They did not really make it hard for him at all as he just trucked right on by. So we're going to really see as this race unfolds just what the strategy is here for the 94 as well as the 25, the 9, and the 64. A lot of cards at play right now.
Also watching these 3 behind them, and it looks like they're starting to reel in this 2nd, 3rd, and 4th group as well, as it's Landon Lacey and Scott Kalal leading this pack of 3. Joshua Balliet there as well. They've been kind of clearing a little bit of that interval bit by bit here, maybe about 2/10 a lap in the past couple laps.
Yeah, and it's just you can see it unfold right in front of you that you're gaining on this leader when you're not racing each other, but it's hard to tell the other drivers like, hey, let's just work together. Ooh, and they're going to make contact right here between the 7 and the 74. That's going to really kill Balliet's momentum as Scott Kalal is likely going to be able to clear him here. And they're probably just going to maybe settle it down a little bit right now because it's just very possible to catch these guys up front. So, it's really hard to get that in the back of your head where we need to possibly cross enemy lines and work together here to catch these guys up front. Otherwise, they're just going to keep building on that gap.
And meanwhile, these 3 RSR cars have lined up still, and they're just trying to make the most of this grouping and just using this draft, not racing each other, not abusing their equipment. So this is a very conservative approach, it looks like, as we've got all kinds of action going on behind. And again, 3 of our drivers in the top 5 entering this race, they're still all within about 0.2 of a second of each other, as it's Holzer, Smith, and Ellison, 8th, 9th, and 10th.
Like giving me shades of the tandem drafting days. We got packs of 3 all over this track. They're all working together, but also battling each other at the same time. And every position matters today. If any day it matters the most today for these guys trying to make it into the final 5, it is a guaranteed payout of at least $150 if you make it into that final round. So these drivers are wanting to cash in on that. RSR already cashing in on a little bit of money as they got that team championship for $300. That's in the bank already. But, there is a lot to be had with only now since we're halfway through this race, 1.5 weeks left in the season.
Now, a moment ago, not sure if it was actual contact or not, but it looked like Jacob Smith got right up against the wall coming out of turn 4. Not sure if he actually made any contact there. But if he did, that might be something that does affect the race here, as we still have not had a caution. Maybe a little contact. It looks pretty clean, though. So if he caught it, it might have just been a slight brush at most, but definitely flirting with that line there, getting up against the wall.
So shocked, though, to see him mired back in 9th with his teammates running 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And this also being a home track, like we mentioned, for Jacob Smith. So I have to imagine there's still a ton of time left in this race. And we could easily see that caution, even though it is giving the serious vibes from our Thursday race where it went green the whole race. If he gets that caution, though, that's a game changer for that 11 because he knows it's go time. He's too far back at this moment with 3.2 seconds separating him between him and Greg Wellen, our leader at the moment. He's going to need some serious help, and I'm sure his teammates there at RSR are doing as much as they can, but it's just not translating right now to the standings on the track.
Yeah, and definitely envious of the caution-free racing that we've seen the past Thursday night and tonight. Probably could have used 1 or 2 fewer cautions on Wednesday myself.
Good luck, Brandon.
Yeah, apparently, and they be good luck on Wednesdays too. But as this race, though, it's playing out really interesting, where we might see some a little loose there for Jacob Smith as he looks onto the inside. James Holzer. This is still tight racing, and that's aggressive too, because you want to be racing for these positions, but if these 3 start making contact, get into each other, they could wipe each other out of the playoffs altogether in this process. So this is a bit of a nail-biter situation here for these 3 when they're running as close as they were down the backstretch.
And as they are right now, they are chipping away at that lead, slowly but surely, but they really need to get tighter and just stop running and, trying to make the pass. I don't know if it was Jacob Smith that got loose there or if Holzer kind of looked like he might have was heading towards the wall and he jerked down a little bit. But those guys definitely have the cars to get back up here, as we saw James Holzer was in the lead for a few laps early on in this race, so we know he has a fast car. We know Jacob Smith has a fast car, and we know Gabriel Ellison has a fast car, so they can get it done if they can work together. Like you said, still tons of time in this race, as we are now on lap 52 out of 100. That is plenty of time to get the job done, even if it does stay green.
And we're about maybe about 60% of the way through this run, and now you're starting to see that interval come back. So the aggressive pace, if it was either from the 94 is fading, or the conservative pace from those 3 RSR cars is now starting to go into, all right, now let's go and work together and get back up front. Either one of those or some combination of them is taking place here as we get later into this run.
Experience goes a long way, and I have to imagine Jake was kind of coaching team through the whole thing and just saying, hey, he's going to come back to us. He got close to a second lead there as he was just pulling away for a while. Still able to maintain the gap here, 2 or 3 cars, but they are definitely catching him and just kind of stalking their prey, to say the least here.
And the interesting thing now is going to be, obviously Wellen has led laps, Brummett has led a lap. Roel has led, I believe, the most laps thus far today. Scott Healy has not led a lap, though, but he's sitting fourth and third in that RSR line. So are they going to try to work Scott up to the front should they make this pass on Wellen and get out in front by those three alone? And as we got Danny Setzer, he was the first one to come in along with Justin Boyles last time through. He's coming in as well, so definitely going for the three-stop strategy there. But if those RSR cars get back up front, will they work Healy to the front, or will they let Brummett lead and try to pick up as many laps led as possible, maybe get that extra bonus point to help his cause?
I'm glad I'm not in the decision-making process because I don't know the right answer there. Obviously, you want to get Dean Brummett in, but, Scott Healy is just as much a team member at RSR as Dean Brummett, so it's hard to say. I think it's every man for themselves right now, and right now, Dean Brummett has the position on track as he's in front of Jake and Scott.
And our esteemed producer and co-broadcaster Sean Griffith throwing out that if it ends right now, this race, Brummett would be 5 points out. Now, with the way our point structure works, if he takes the lead, not only would that be 3 bonus points if the race ended there and he wins the race, but if he leads the most laps, that's another bonus point that would be added in. He would still be 1 point short. That leaves you a whole lot of space for somebody to fall back a spot or two, as opposed to having to fall back 6 spots.
Yeah, and I have to imagine that right now, with Gabriel Ellison back in 9th and James Holzer back in 10th and Jacob Smith in 8th, that is very likely to happen. One of those guys could easily lose another spot. Right now, Justin Boyle's going down pits as well on that 3-stop strategy. It's going to get interesting here towards the end, especially if Dean Brummett can get that lead back. Greg Wellen able to maintain that gap as they got a little bit closer here, but it's going to get interesting here in these last 45 laps.
And if it's Dean Brummett he was the one with the lowest chance of making it of the drivers that are here tonight into the next round, out of those that are behind that cut line. It wasn't long ago that he had a bit of a heartbreaker that left him out of the championship race with the title contention. If he can make this kind of a Cinderella-type comeback and make this giant jump up into those top 5, that's really making up for what happened to him in the past. So there's a little bit of that extra motivation there, I'm pretty sure.
I'd have to imagine he would be a serious contender next week at Texas Motor Speedway here for our last week at SRN here this season. So we're going to be keeping an eye on this battle. He needs to get by Greg Wellen here as quickly as he can. He's just not able to close the gap as he's kind of pulled away from his 2 teammates behind him, Jake Roel and Scott Healy back there in 3rd and 4th. He's starting to pull away a little bit, trying to keep up with this 94. But he's got some lap traffic in front of him here, which could help out the 25 machine.
It could, especially that 8 being faster now that he's made a pit stop. He might check out, though, by enough. But the thing that's made this more interesting is that we still have Ted Rekich out in front of the leader. Looks like he might be, no, he might have just gotten loose and came down to the inside. But he's still helping out with that draft, which makes it where if you're the leader, you're just sitting there a little bit more comfortable because you have something to fall back on to help you with that little bit of a safety net, getting that extra toe down the straightaways.
Yeah, all these guys starting to space out a little bit. I'm still curious. We got about 5, 6, 7 laps left on this run here. So this is the time where you want to use up the rest of those tires that you have. So I'm really shocked to see Dean Brummett not get to the bumper of that 94 car yet. 94 might have just blanked out completely, though. We're not seeing him on the track anymore. There he is. He's back up there. All right. That was a long blink, so that's not what you want if you're the leader.
Yeah, that was about the entire back straightaway, which that's going to definitely get the attention of the league admins. We do have a blinking policy there where if it happens a couple times, they let you know, like, hey, you're blinking, not going to do anything yet, but a warning. You do it long enough, they send you to the back of the line or just tell you to get out of the way and start kind of being more conservative, let people by, and so they know where you're going. But if it happens enough, you're just going to be dropped out of the race until it can be fixed. So hopefully that was just a one-time thing and everything's resolved there because he's putting together a great race. Would hate to see him lose it because of the blinking policy.
Yeah, if I was RSR right now, I'd be coming over the comms and being like, hey, man, he's blinking like crazy and see if that works. But he's able to get it cleaned up on his end. So right now he's going to still maintain that lead. But these guys are starting to close that gap a little bit right now. It's going back and forth. Like, it's really hard to tell what is actually taking place on track, if Greg Wellen has fallen off or not. But back here for the 8th, 9th, and 10th position, we got a battle. Like, these guys have been around each other this entire green flag run on these tires, as they had a little issues during their pit stops. They were a little bit slower than our leaders, and that mired them a little bit back in the field after Holzer led this race for a little while. And Gabriel Ellison was running up there too, so they're in good position right now, but they might not necessarily know that. So these guys are really racing hard back here, trying to get every position that they can. And Scott Kalal is another one of those drivers who needs an absolute amazing run tonight to get himself into that final round.
Now, the thing that I'm curious if, and I would imagine if they have somebody in their ear, they're telling them about where people are that are in this playoff race. But if you come into this race and you're above the cut line and you see Scott Kalal, who was the closest one here that's out of the playoff, out of the cut line, sitting there running with you, you're thinking, all right, I'm pretty safe. But if you don't know that Dean Brummett's up there in second, that might kind of lull you into a false sense of security on this one.
Dean is really closing the gap on Greg Wellen as well. He's getting to that bumper here, potentially going to make a run for the lead here. And these guys running 5th and 6th as well are closing the gap on this lead pack, Landon Lacey and Joshua Balliot. So we could have a big race for the lead here not too long from now. As we near these green flag pit stops, we're going to see who peels off first. And like you said, we had about 34 lap run last time. They need to get to about 33 laps left in this race, and then it's time to duck down and get the best possible stop you can get here.
Yeah, if you come in before lap 66, you're really stretching that thin to make it the rest of the way. As that would be a 35 lap run if you came in the next couple laps. That's hard to imagine that would work. So I would expect that we're going to see pit stops here in the next. Well, actually, I think I hear. Well, that's Ted Rekich. That's sounded like he's going to be coming in. So he is 1 lap down, but that's going to lose that little bit of protection there for Wellen, who's now under attack from Dean Brummett on the inside. He's going to get a good run there. Outside line does carry a little bit more speed, but it's going to be clear for Dean Brummett out in front by a couple car lengths. He checks out quickly. Jake Rowell coming on through the inside as well, and he's going to try to pull Scott Healy with him.
Changes things up here as we are, Dean Brummett was out by 5 when he was running in second place not too long ago. That's going to change things up, and he will be out by 2 points right now. So these are very important laps led, and all it takes is for one of those drivers running back there at the back, like 9th or 10th right now, to fall back one more position. If they have a bad pit stop, that could set Dean up to move on to the next round of the playoffs. So that could be a critical pass that we just saw.
If you want to see some cautious driving, that should be what's going on in positions 8, 9, 10, and 11 with those 4 playoff drivers. Also James Holzer, so 7, 8, 9, and 10. Those 4 are going to have to be on thin ice when they're making any type of pass the rest of the way. They get into trouble and see Dean Brummett out there in front. They're sitting there going, oh no, our playoff season is over if we wreck this thing.
Or all it takes is a speeding penalty down pit road where you easily overshoot your pit box. Timothy Latham sitting there in 11th. Granted, he's 8 seconds back of that pack, but that's easily able to make up that time. If something does go wrong on pit road, right now Greg Wellen is getting right to the bumper of Dean Brummett, though, is letting him know he's still here. And we're going to really start seeing pit stops, I think, this next time by.
I haven't heard anybody over the driver chat saying they're going to make a pit stop, and it looks like Jake Rowell once again. He was the first one last time on lap 32. He comes in on lap 66, so he went 34 laps. He's going to be right on the brink if he can make it the rest of the way.
Saul, he had to kind of drop behind to get a little bit of a tow from his drivers. Greg Wellen coming down. Everybody's going to be coming down this time. Scott Healy claiming that he's coming down. I have to imagine that Dean Brummett is going to be doing the same, so he does not lose this lead. 1 lap on fresher tires will get you that lead for Greg Wellen, so he cannot afford to do that. Dean Brummett needs to lead all of these laps to close out this race, so he's going to need to get a great entry onto the pit lane here, as you're going to see him dip down below that line and not lock him up, hopefully, as that can get the car way out. Greg Wellen stayed out.
He's got nothing to lose. You can
Yeah.
stay out here. Hope that, during this interchange where people are coming on and off pit road, maybe there's some kind of a error where somebody gets into trouble, creates a caution. So you can stay out a little bit longer, take a shot at it. Why not? You got nothing to lose.
True, true. So we're going to see a battle off of pit road, see if everyone's able to do it cleanly and see just how they come out. And I have to imagine that Greg Wellen cannot go another lap past this. We're going to probably see him come down this time as Landon Lacey's just running behind him. That pack has caught him by a few seconds. They were running a little bit further back. And right now, Greg Wellen is entering pit road
And
with
pulling
Landon
the rest
Lacey.
of the field with them.
Yep.
So here we go. We saw those troubles for Holzer and Ellison last time, as the Roel will take the lead. That one extra lap, or that one lap undercut there, you can see the speed differential. And I think there's going to be a little bit more of the factor here, because he checked out by about a second and a half, almost 2 seconds now on Dean Brummett. So he had a great entry and exit onto pit road.
Yeah, he's one of the best at doing it, making up time while doing so. And yeah, huge lead for him right now as Jake Roel is going to cycle out to be our leader. He has got a decent 1 to 2 second gap on, 1.7 second gap on his teammate Dean Brummett, who was the leader before that cycle of pit stops.
Yeah, and this gap is going to be a welcome sight to everybody that's going to be fourth on back, because they're starting to see that RSR party, that train, finally get broken up a little bit, that we've really seen since the beginning of this race.
So we're going to see if Jake Roel can make it to the end here, as he was the first in that round of pit stops. It seemed like it may have been a lap early, but I never second guess Jake Roel when it comes to fuel management. He is the king of doing it. So he has to feel confident that he can make it to the end from where he pitted, and he's going to see if he can maintain that gap. Dean Brummett's starting to narrow it down, only down to a second and a half now.
Yeah, and that speed pickup that you get when you undercut is more significant than the speed pickup you get when you come in a lap or two later and you have that lap or two fresher, as opposed to 30 laps fresher tires. But I think the bigger thing here is going to be that Brummett and Healy are close enough together that they're getting that little bit of extra energy from the draft with each other. And as long as they can stay single file and not try to race each other, which I would imagine is a pretty safe bet, they will have a good shot at closing in on Jake.
Yeah, Scott Healy getting the better end of that draft as well. He just ran the fastest lap 2 laps ago of this whole race. So he is definitely putting everything out there that he's got. But right now, these two guys are 0.3 of a second faster last lap than Jake Roel. So not sure if Jake is saving like we saw him kind of do last time. He might feel like he may be a tad bit short, or just wants to get a little bit extra in there just to make it to the end. But that gap has shrunk big time. And here in a turn or two, Dean Brummett's going to be able to have that draft and suck up to that 9 car.
And let's remember that first run when he led almost the entire time, and he was the one that was punching the hole in the air and all that, he went 32 laps. He had to conserve to make sure that he got those 34 laps on that last run. So there might be a chance that you're right. He's not going 100% full throttle here, trying to let them kind of back up a little bit so he can get some help.
There could be team orders on the line right now as well. You never know if he's just falling back to kind of let Dean get the lead and lead the most laps in this race to help him out. We'll see exactly what happens as the laps unfold here. But right now, this battle has been going on for the last 40 or 50 laps after that first pit stop. Those guys have been around each other this whole time, but Dean Brummett has caught Jake Roel here. Just 0.2 back, a couple car lengths separating them. And Dean's going to potentially make a go for the lead here, as he needs every point that he can get to make that jump from 9th up into the cut.
I'm sure somebody's counting it for RSR, but I'm pretty sure if Jake led about 28, 30 laps on that first run, if he's going to let Dean by to get that extra point, they got to do it right now to make sure that Dean does get the most points should he lead the rest of the way.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to say that's exactly what's happening or just take anything away from Dean Brummett, but Dean Brummett caught him so fast there. I really think Jake is trying to save anything he can before, he has to really race here, just to make sure that he can make it to the end. And right now, we'll see if he really makes it hard on Dean Brummett to get by him for the lead. You know, it's hard for a driver to let another driver win any race. So, and I know if any race Jake wants to win, it's this one here at his home track. So we're really going to see what is going on here at RSR. But they're not going to have much time to play around for too long, because that 94 machine, who just flew by them the last time, is right on their doorstep again here.
This seems like a familiar sight that we had in that last run. And one thing important to note, you'll see on the left side of the screen, the 14 car of Fuge is out of the race as he has disconnected. So that does free up one additional point for those that are above the cut line, that they get a little bit more protection there from drivers like Brummett, who are up in second.
Fortunate for him, he was running a really cool Metallica scheme. Love seeing that car out there, but right now, one of the cars that Dean Brummett does not love seeing out there is that 94 machine, who is just flying by him on the high side. With that preferred line, he's going to get cleared of Dean Brummett here in this turn, and he's going to make a run at our 9 machine, the leader, Jake Rowell, here coming out of the backstretch.
And Greg can be the most aggressive out there because he was the last one to make a pit stop, so he knows he's safe at this point, should it go the rest of the way. Even if he leads the entire time and gets no draft assistance, he can make it those 32 laps, as we saw with Rowell earlier on that first stint. And a nice slide job to get out in front. Got right up against the wall. Don't believe he made contact, but that's a great pass for the lead for Greg Welland.
Yeah, so we saw this exact story play itself out after the last pit stop, and it's doing itself again here as Greg Welland has taken over the lead in the Great Lakes 200 with just 24 laps to go. Dean Brummett able to get by Jake Rowell. Jake releasing the dog. Hopefully he can get up there and get by the 94. Like you said, Dean Brummett knows what's at stake. He knows he needs to get these laps, but Greg Welland being just one of those drivers who is just racing for a win, and that's it. You know, it's hard to get by those drivers. So Dean is going to have to really put everything that he has stored up in his skill set to get by him. But right now, Landon Lacey is putting Scott Healy under attack and is going to be making a push at Jake Rowell here for 4th.
I was just about to say, a new name has entered this race, and another one is on the way as well, as we see Landon Lacey make the move for 4th and now try to make a shot at 3rd place Jake Rowell. Don't count out that 74 car just behind them either, as he's now within a second of this top 5 pack that's out in front. And Joshua Balliet yet again making a late race charge through the field.
Landon Lacey and Greg Welland each putting the fastest laps out there currently on the track, pretty much mirroring each other. So we're going to see if Landon Lacey's able to get by Jake Rowell here, as well as Dean Brummett. We got a spinner going down the pit lane here. I think it was Justin Boyles who kind of got, he spun around. I heard some tires going, and that is not going to bring out the caution, although it looks like he might be about to take a tow here.
Interesting. I'm wondering if he caught the wall or anything and had some damage to take the tow, or if he's just calling it a night. Looks like he might have tried to do some donuts to get it straightened out. Not sure what's going on here, but it's a definite struggle bus moment there for the 8 car and Justin Boyles. As we continue to work through the front of the field, now a pass going on for 3rd, as Rowell and Lacey side by side down the front stretch. Rowell had that outside line and got back around Lacey and hold him off going into 1. And Landon's going to take another shot at it on the inside line as we get 21 laps to go.
This race was working itself out perfectly for RSR, and they were just kind of taking a Sunday drive. But right now, under attack from 2 drivers who, Landon Lacey is not necessarily within reach of the Tier 2 championship, so these guys are just racing for wins. And Landon Lacey was our winner out at Fontana, another 2-mile track, a big, wide 2-mile track. He just came out there and dominated that race. So I am not surprised at all to see this 7 machine working his way up here during an 80-lap green flag run, no cautions so far, and he is making it look easy as he's about to clear Jake Rowell for 3rd. And Dean Brummett has to be taking note right now that he could be potentially losing another position that he cannot afford to lose here soon.
Yeah, that is the sight he does not want, is one other car. Like, if he's sitting there saying, all right, the 94 is fast, I can handle one car. But if there's another car that's getting hot here late in this race that's making an attack on his RSR teammates, and I'm sitting there looking at that in the mirror and seeing the relative and hearing all that, I get a little bit nervous there if I'm Dean Brummett that you might lose another position here without that help of being a teammate.
Yeah, unfortunately for Landon Lacey there, I think he had to get out of the gas just a hair to not hit the wall, as Jake Rowell is racing him hard right now, knowing exactly what we are talking about right now, saying, I cannot let Landon Lacey just get by me and work his way up. Oh, we got a caution here.
Trouble.
Justin Boyles. That changes everything.
We almost had a second part of that as there was contact there, it looked like, between the 7 and the 9 as they were getting around there. Not sure if it was a checkup moment where they saw the caution come out before our graphic was able to kind of change over. But there was definitely, it looked like if it wasn't contact, it was incredibly close for those two.
We're going to go ahead and check out our first wreck replay of the night, brought to us by Sandwich Man Racing Sports Memorabilia. Check them out on Shopify, or just check them out at www.sandwichmanracing.com. But right here, you just see Justin Boyles exiting the pits. I don't know if he's got some mechanical issues right now. We saw him spin out. Oh, he clipped the grass right there, which just throws the car all out of shape. Able to keep it off the racing surface. Pretty surprised that that caution came out, considering how far off the track he was. But nonetheless, we have a caution tonight.
Ooh, and there's that contact there with the 7 and the 9. Doesn't look like anything that'll be too significant. But yeah, this is a very narrow entry back onto the racetrack. Easy to clip the grass or go back up onto the apron. See that contact there? A little bit of net code. They were definitely on that path, though, of possibly making contact without it. See if that affects anything, but it didn't look significant enough for a problem. As everybody going to come down pit lane, and all that two-stop strategy, we can throw it out the window here with 18 to go.
Curious to see if we see any two-tire strategies here, as it doesn't really wear out your lefts too much. For these guys in the back, like a Scott Kalal or a Jacob Smith, could we possibly see some strategy, maybe even a Timothy Latham to get up front?
I kind of played around with that idea to have some kind of secret move there. Should be needed in the truck race, at least, and they do handle differently. Dean Brummett overshot the pit.
Oh, man.
That's going to cost them a good second or so, which under caution could mean a couple positions. It doesn't look like anybody's going to take two. I was about to say, once you get past about 12, 14 laps is when it kind of gets a little squirrely, as the 94 going to win the race off pit road. It's going to be Jake Rowell in second, Landon Lacey in third, Dean Brummett fourth, and Scott Healy in fifth.
Dean Brummett losing two positions, two very crucial positions on that pit stop. He's going to really have to work hard to get past those two cars that just got by him, as well as this very strong 94 Chevy Camaro that is currently leading this race here in the Great Lakes 200 with 17 laps to go.
Keep an eye on, I'm not sure what happened here to James Holzer, but he fell about 4 positions as he was 7th at the time of the caution, now sitting in 11th, and it might be a second struggle moment on pit road there for the 42.
Yeah, still probably in good shape, but he's really got to be sweating back there in 11th.
Oh, he's definitely happy to see that Brummett missed the pit stop, missed the pit position, had to back it up, cost him that second there. So I'm pretty sure that's going to help as we look back at the pit entry here for the 42.
Hearing that he was 5 seconds slower than the pits than anybody else. Not sure exactly what happened as he got into his stall cleanly here.
It looked like he was so conservative to not miss that pit spot that he just came in super cautious there. That didn't look bad, but it definitely was conservative.
To know if he has damage or something, where that looked like a long stall, like a long stop. Yeah, that was a 19-second pit stop, so definitely some damage probably getting fixed, which is important here at this very fast 2-mile oval. So he must be pretty confident in his ability to pick up those spots, as he is mired back in the 11th position right now. Max Service able to move his way into the top 10. Truly trying to narrow down that gap on that 74 machine to maintain that lead in the Tier 2 playoffs.
Yeah, and right now we're looking at an 8-point difference between Brummett and Holzer. They both led a lap. Neither have led the most laps. I do believe that's in position to go to Roel. I think Wellen is the only one that has a shot at it at this point. But that 8-point differential on an 11-point gap coming into this race. So Brummett, for him to make it over Holzer at least, will need some type of change where 3 positions happen, whether it be Holzer falling back or Brummett moving up to first. However that's got to play out is what Brummett needs at this point.
Yeah, Brummett's going to have to go for the win here really hard. He's got a good line up there on the high side as Greg Wellen is the leader here. He's going to have the command of the start, and he's going to get a good jump on Jake Roel. Jake's going to be able to hang in there, though, and keep the second place position potentially unless he lets his teammate go by, which looks like he might just do that as Dean Brummett's going to have a battle on hand with Landon Lacey there for third.
This is an interesting choice here for Jake Roel because he can continue to try to hold in front and possibly slow up that 7 of Landon Lacey. Or if he does that, we got an interesting race here going 3 wide.
You got to be careful though. If you're the 25 car, you don't want to just let the season go away. We're 4 wide here at Michigan. He is trying every inch of this track. He's looking for speed anywhere he can. He's going to have a good run exiting 4. He's going to possibly be able to take a look on one of these drivers if they clear each other. They're going to go 2 wide into turn 1.
We're all going to stick the nose out there. We got 3 wide behind him, and that is important because it's James Holzer making it 3 wide, trying to pick off a couple spots going into 1.
Yep, he's in trouble right now if he stays back there. He sees that 25 car up front. So that 42, it looks like Jake is going to make a move to the inside here of the 94 to take the lead of the Great Lakes 200 here at his home track of Michigan. He's going to have to slide up in front of that 94. He's going to have the room to do it, and Jake Roel is going to be our new leader.
Also looked like a nervous moment there for the 25 as he and the 7 nearly got together on the back straightaway. Looked like they avoided each other, but it was a bit of a hairy moment there. If you're in the 25, as the pressure is on at this point, he's got to get out in front and win this race to have a shot.
Got a heck of a push from that 7 machine, but Greg Wellen also hearing reports he might have hit the wall there, which killed his momentum big time. Dean Brummett moves into second, and he's going to be staring down, looking at his teammate and team captain, Jake Roel here, who is safely in the playoffs for the next round. Dean Brummett's going to need to get by him if he wants to have any shot of making that as well.
If your desperation guy right now is Dean Brummett, it also looks like it could be James Holzer in the 42 as he is working his way now up to the 7th position and trying to make a move for another one. And he has been ultra on it here since the restart, trying to pick off as many positions as he can.
Jacob Smith back there, who's one of the drivers who needs to have a good run. He could be in trouble tonight since he is another one of those guys that was not too far ahead of the bubble there, only 2 points separating 2nd through 5th. So Jacob Smith probably going to need to pick up a few more spots, especially if Dean Brummett gets this lead.
Yeah, that's going to be the interesting one now, as it was a 6-point advantage. So we're looking at 13 points between Brummett and Smith coming into this race. As it stands right now, you're looking at that 6 positions difference of 7 points because of the lap lead situation. So right now, not enough for Dean Brummett, but as tight as the racing is, anything can happen here in the last 11 laps, and a little bit of contact to one of those 5 that are currently in might change the point race entirely.
Smith under attack now from Timothy Latham back there for 8th and 9th. That is a battle that we should pay attention to as well. Scott Kowal, another one of those drivers who's needing everything he can. A big Hail Mary to make it into the final round is in that mix as well. So Jacob Smith cannot let off the gas pedal at all. He has got to keep moving spots or maintain that position that he has right now, and that's not an easy feat with those drivers back there. Well, we got 10 laps to go. It is heating up, Brandon.
All of a sudden, if you look at the counter, 10 to go, 20 miles, and this thing is about to get frantic. And to kind of go with that Daytona Talladega type analogy, it's similar-ish racing, and we're about to see the aggression move up even more, I believe, here with 10 laps to go and everything on the line. Those final 5 spots in Texas being next week.
I just know that Dean Brummett probably wishes his teammate was behind him as opposed to that 7 car of Landon Lacey, who, like I said, is very strong here at these 2-mile tracks. So he's got to keep an eye in his mirror to make sure he's not getting any runs to potentially take that 2nd place position away from him if Dean Brummett wants any chance of winning this race. So he's got to be looking in the mirror and ahead of him to keep in that draft of Jake Rowell and trying to close in on him, but right now unable to do so.
This is such a edgy situation where if you're one of those drivers that's around the cut line, so you take out the 9 since he's already locked in, but if you're anywhere else where you're either above or behind, you just can't, you have to be aggressive, but you can't make the move that's going over that line, getting too aggressive, and it knocks you out of the playoffs entirely. You have to pick your spots perfectly the rest of the way, or else all of a sudden you're out of it no matter what you do.
Tight down here between Landon Lacey and Scott Healy in turns 1 and 2. Able to do it cleanly, but I was worried for a second that someone was about to get turned there. But right now we got a side-by-side battle for Dean Brummett and Landon Lacey. Not what Dean Brummett wants to see.
Not at all, and he's going to try to get help here from Healy, who's going to line up behind him. But nice slide. Oh, nice little crossover here from Dean Brummett, and he's going to get that run, getting that slide down the hill. He's a little bit freer as he knew how to, as he had control of how he wanted to take that line. He's going to slide right back up. We're getting another crossover going into 1.
And Jake Rowell is loving what he's seeing as far as his race goes. He wants to win this race. Yeah, not a team captain, but as a driver, and he is just pulling away up to a half-second lead over Dean Brummett now. Dean is able to get a 2 or 3 car gap over Landon Lacey, but Scott Healy is really going to make an effort here to get by Landon Lacey, to get top 3 RSR cars and kind of give Dean a little bit of cushion here as he tries to make his way into the final round of the playoffs.
What an awkward spot if you're Scott Healy right now as well, because you can make life really difficult on Landon Lacey and help free up the land there for Brummett and Rowell. But at the same time, if you're Scott Healy, you're not far locked in yourself as you're above that cut line, but one mistake and all of a sudden you're out of the playoffs. So you can make it tough, but you got to be very careful if you do it.
You see that 42 car, he has caught this pack. He is going to be making a run for the lead here not too long from now if he can get by those 3 cars of Lacey, Healy, and Gabriel Ellison. He is in the mix again as he had a little bit of a longer pit stop here. It seems like that damage that he fixed is going a long way as his speed has come back on this run.
Yeah, his Holzer now up to 6th. Gabriel Ellison, who had a slower pit stop earlier, in 5th. Jacob Smith has rebounded up to 7th. So right now, those 5 drivers that entered the race above the cut line, all in the top 7.
Yeah, that's huge for Jacob Smith. He's got to maintain that position if he wants to make it into the final rounds. Pretty safe right now. But yeah, anything can happen if we have another caution here with these guys running very hard around each other. Landon Lacey's fallen back to 6th now. Not sure exactly what happened there, but wow, these guys are all on top of each other here running for 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Saw a couple sparks down the backstretch, and I'm thinking it was Landon Lacey that might have just caught the wall a little bit just past turn 2. Might have cost him a little momentum, and you see him rebounding here, making his way back up as we had some tight racing there with Ellison and Holzer. And Lacey going to try to get around Holzer, but Holzer's going to have that outside as he's trying to hang on to every position he can, and he will hold that 5th position. As it plays out right now, that top 5 entering the race will be the top 5 leaving this race, similar to what we saw Thursday on the Xfinity side, but still 4 laps left.
I don't know if I would be racing as aggressively as James Holzer is right now, knowing that I'm in the final round of the playoffs. If things just stay the way they are, it's very easy for netcode to happen in this sim, and it could just turn you around and end your race and your season with just one little touch of the bumper. So I'm curious to see if James Holzer continues the run towards the front like he was before. When this restart happened, he was back in 11th. He's worked his way up to 5th now, so he's safely into the playoffs. Dean can't catch him with where they're running on track right now. So he's got to just kind of just chill out for a second and just ride these next 2 laps out onto the final round of the playoffs.
Yep, Jake Rowell leading the way 0.3 of a second ahead, and you know that if Holzer loses a couple spots or Smith loses a couple spots, well, maybe not so much if it's Smith, but if Holzer or Ellison fall back a little bit, I would imagine that if you're Jake Rowell, you're thinking, all right, well, there's 3 extra points I can give my teammate here, as Brummett is right there in closing in. He might be able to take it himself without any kind of communication with the run he's got right now.
Yeah, we're going to have a battle for the lead here, I think, on the last lap. What more can you ask for here in the Great Lakes 200? Great racing so far, but Jake Rowell is going to round turn forward to see that white flag with his teammates just behind him of Dean Brummett and Scott Healy. We could be seeing an RSR top 3 here tonight just after they won the team championship last week. We are 1 to go here in Michigan.
Playoff drivers making up 8 of the top 9 positions. Max Service in 7th is the only non-playoff driver breaking that up, but Jake Rowell putting the finishing touches on a very impressive performance as he cuts it down to the inside. Maybe think for a second, I was like, well, is he running out of gas? What's going on here? The way that he moved down there to the inside. But just putting on a little show as his home track as he looks to win where he used to work at Michigan International Speedway.
Brummett going to get a nice little run off the turn here, but not going to be enough as Jake Rowell comes to the stripe for his 9th win in SRN history. Going back-to-back after winning Charlotte last week, he is the winner of the Great Lakes 200 here at Michigan International Speedway.
And his 6th win of the season and 2nd in a row for Jake Rowell. That is a scary sight for anybody going to Texas next week. With Rowell leading the way in wins this season, he's in the Championship 5. He had that locked up already, but always a threat to win. And, man, that's scary with him having momentum here going into the final race.
Timothy Latham giving him a little bit of a love tap. Congratulations. Another one from James Holzer here. But it's about to be a party for these RSR cars. I know they wanted to get Dean Brummett into the playoffs, but they still get 3 drivers into the final round of the playoffs. And Dean Brummett, has nothing to hang his head for. He had a great race tonight, still led a lot of laps. But it is hard to beat this man at his track. He wants to win this one more than anything, I think, and he pulled it off here tonight.
Pulled it off, and that's the second of what he hopes will be 3 consecutive wins, with the win next week being what would guarantee any of our Championship 5 that championship for the 2021 Season 1 title. But Jake Rowell doing some donuts at his home track at Michigan after a solid performance that saw him lead about half the race.
Feeling good as he's staring down $1,000 for next week if he can just pull off that win at Texas Motor Speedway. So he has got to be feeling good tonight. We'll hear from him in a little bit, but let's go ahead and read off our top 10 tonight here. Jake Rowell, like we said, coming home in first place. Dean Brummett, his teammate, needing that Hail Mary, coming home in second place after a great run. Scott Healy, another RSR car, going to be in that final round as well with his teammate. Coming home in third, James Holzer is going to be fourth place in that 42 machine, and Gabriel Ellison keeping that top 5 streak alive.
Still alive, still perfect on top 10s this season for Ellison. Jacob Smith, he had a bit of an interesting night working his way through the back of the pack for a while there, but he winds up in the 6th position. He'll be going to Texas as well. Max Service, the Tier 2 leader. Top non-playoff driver tonight in 7th. Timothy Latham in 8th. Scott Kalal in 9th. Joshua Balliet rounding out the top 10.
Well, let's go ahead and see if we can bring up some of these drivers. It's going to be an RSR party in the booth tonight as we have Scott Healy in the 64 machine. Scott, it's Greg and Brandon up in the booth. Tell us about your third place run tonight. Got to be feeling good as you are in that final round of the playoffs, bud.
Oh, man. Sorry, I'm still a little, a little confused because I'm still with my teammates doing burnout. So, anyways, I'm doing pretty good. Car felt great the whole run. I knew I had a top 3 car. Just overall, just a great team effort by everyone. 1, 2, 3, can't do it any better.
Well, one thing I'm curious about with the way that this race played out, and for so long, it looked like we might be going green flag the entire way and everybody trying to make a two-stop strategy. How was the communication within the team during that process? Because pulling that off, it did need some conservation on the fuel for sure, as tight as that would have been.
It was a little haywire. Jake was running a little bit low, so that caution really helped us out. Me and Dean were running, on the line. I mean, we could have made it if we saved a little bit more, but as that caution came out, it was a great effort to get it to the checkered flag.
All right, Scott. Well, your one win came at Martinsville this season. Big race for $1,000 next week at Texas Motor Speedway. Tell us about your chances. Is this one of your better tracks? What are you going to be doing this week to prepare?
Texas is like Charlotte to me, so we'll find out. I know a lot of people are going to be practicing this week, so we'll see what happens.
All All right, buddy. Well, let's go ahead and name off these sponsors and anybody that you would like to thank before we let you go.
I'd like to thank you guys for doing an amazing effort. Kurt Crete, Off Apex Designs, Valvoline, friends, family, everyone in the garage RSR. So that's who I'd like to thank tonight.
All right, buddy. Well, we hope to be talking to you next week, and best of luck heading into Texas. Make sure you get all that practice that you can, and we'll be seeing you soon, bud.
Hell yeah, man. I'll see you soon.
All right. Well, that was Scott Healy, our third place finisher tonight at the Great Lakes 200. Just the first of 3 RSR cars that we're going to talk to here in the booth, and the second one probably going to be a little bit disappointed, but nonetheless a great run from the 25 machine of Dean Brummett. Dean, it's Greg and Brandon up in the booth here. Tell us about your night, bud.
Well, buddy, we didn't have a good last 2 weeks by any means. Charlotte was just terrible, probably the worst driving car I've ever had in my entire life, and Coda, no matter how much practice I put in, just came up a little bit short there. And tonight was good. Car was great. Got to lead a few laps. Really thought we were going to have contention for the win. Was kind of going through the race, sitting there kind of looking at what playoff competition was looking like and thinking, man, we might accidentally have a shot at this thing. But in the end, just came up a little bit too short. And whether I want to point my finger early on in the season to not bringing any more bonus points into the playoffs, or going through and just not having a good last 2 weeks. That's why we run these playoffs, and that's why we have this nice 20-week system.
Yeah, and with the one race remaining here coming up, you're going to have teammates that are running for that championship and everything like that. How's the role going to work going into that? With getting ready for Texas, with everybody on the team, obviously the team title wrapped up, but how's that next week look for everybody on this RSR team that's got a lot on the line next week individually?
That's the funny part about the playoffs too. You got 5 guys who they're going to go in here, and whether you enjoy playoff racing or whether you don't enjoy playoff racing, the other 19 weeks don't mean a damn thing at this point in time. It's all about who's going to finish best next week. And you take a look at the leaderboard tonight. You had RSR the top 3 spots, 1, 2, 3. Multiple times we've swept the podiums this season, and it's an awesome group of guys. Definitely going to be rooting them on. Definitely not going to miss the race by any means. We've got sponsor obligations off Apex Designs, and want to go out there and couldn't give them that exciting storyline tonight. But hopefully next week we can go through and be celebrating with either Scott or Jacob or Jake in Texas Victory Lane with that championship trophy.
Yeah, well, you guys have a good chance of one of those drivers pulling off a season championship next week. But how does this momentum, a second place finish tonight, and I know you're going to be strong next week, how does this set you up for season 2 of our 2021 season here at SRN?
Well, it's kind of funny because there's so much that always changes on the cars and the tracks and the setups and everything. There was a huge learning curve this season going from the Xfinity car last year, being runner-up in points in that, to going to this Cup car. And, I thought I had the Cup car figured out at a point of the season, and the finishes show otherwise, kind of middle of the pack, everything. So, if anything, I don't know so much about momentum. It definitely gives me the fire to be able to come back next season and say, hey, I got my butt kicked time and time and time again this season. So let's go out next year and not let that happen.
Well, you mentioned one of your sponsors already. I have to imagine you have a few more you want to name, as well as any people you want to go ahead and give a shout out to.
Yeah, man, just want to thank everybody over at RSR, Jay Crowell, for giving me this opportunity to run this car. Like I said, off Apex Designs with this beautiful paint scheme. We had it a little more unique with 2 different number fonts on it, but decided to make it a little more normal. Just want to give a whole shout out to all the RSR guys. We had a blast last weekend at Charlotte Motor Speedway. I think we did. I don't remember too much of the weekend, but we had a blast last weekend at Charlotte. Only other thing I want to say is just give a shout out to my good buddy Nate Mon and let him know, hey buddy, the beer's running empty right here, so get ready.
Well, man, we were pulling for you tonight, and we're going to be pulling for you again next season. You made a hell of a run, but you guys are still having a great season nonetheless, so go ahead and get back down there and celebrate with your teammates, bud.
Hey, we thank you, buddy. Hey, just one more thing. Kyle Larson, 2 in a row. Let's see if we can't make it 3 next week.
I love it, man. The scheme looked good out there today.
Hey, thank you, guys. Have a great night.
You too, bud. All right. Well, you heard a little bit of a disappointment from Dean Brummett tonight, wanting to make it into that final round. But this next driver coming into our booth, the winner, Jake Rowell, certainly not disappointed after his run tonight. You heard him after his win last week at Charlotte. He wanted to win this one more than anything. His home track. Jake, how you feeling, bud?
Man, there is no better feeling than winning in the great state of Michigan.
Well, you guys seem to be running a little bit of a strategy call out there. I don't know if you were trying to get Dean the lead or what, but you guys were running top 3 for most of this race. Tell us about your race.
Yeah, I started out in the lead, obviously, and just was cruising, not thinking about fuel. Didn't think it was going to go green that long the first stint. And then I was just behind the 8 ball on fuel strategy, being up front, burning through fuel so much. So then we got, after the first round of pit stops, Dean was in the lead. Scott was trying to push me down the straightaways, trying to get a lap of fuel. It just wasn't working. And then as soon as the one and only yellow flag came out, it opened the doors for it. So yeah, it was just it was pretty nerve-wracking because I thought it was going to go green the whole way and probably have to pit with a lap or 2 left. So that was going to be a pretty big stabbing to the heart.
Well, and you talk about the nerves. How about next week? And not only as a driver, but you have a ton of momentum going into this one with back-to-back wins now. But now you got teammates as well that are going to be in that running for the title. How's the mood going to be, and how's the week going to look there for RSR?
Plain and simple, normal business. Every single day we'll probably practice an hour or 2 in the evening. Just working long runs, things like that, mock restarts. Everything we do every single week. We've gotten to this point as a team. We're going to finish it out as a team. So to have 3 of us in the final 5 just speaks volumes of what we've done all season long. So from a driver standpoint, I'm pumped. Texas is a decent track for me, so I feel confident there. And then being an owner driver, I'm ecstatic to have 3 of the 5. Wish we could have got Dean in, but unfortunately the math just wasn't there for him. So, but I feel good going into Texas with 3 out of the 5.
Just want to hear how you're racing for $1,000 next week. Tell us what that would do for you if you were able to pull that off at Texas.
I just feel like it'd be huge. I mean, after last season at Mid-South Madness, I was pretty bad taste in the mouth after not making the final 5 and then finished what would have possibly have won it. So it's been a revenge tour all season long internally for me, just coming back at it, hitting it even harder and more than last season. I just felt like I let it slip away. So to go out here next week at Texas, I mean, obviously the $1,000 would be huge. I just kind of want to wrap up this whole season how it's been all season long. So I feel really, really good going in there, and it'd be awesome, I guess.
All right, man. Well, you're going to have a shot at that. Before we let you go tonight, who you want to thank? I know you got some sponsors you want to give a shout out to, as well as anybody else out there.
Yeah, definitely got to thank the whole team at RSR, Dean Brummett, Jacob Smith, Scott Healy, Brian Smith, my spotter, the eye on this guy every single week, walked me through it, especially just trying to save as much fuel as possible. And then on that restart, trying to get around Greg. I mean, he had shown up for the first time in a few weeks, I feel like, and he was bad fast. So that was fun. The entire Xfinity Series team, and then Cole Martin, Michael York on the Truck Series team, they help us a lot in practice, just having other numbers of cars in our practices. So that's always huge. Got to thank Off Apex Designs. He created Dean, mine, and Scott's paint schemes. Going to get more for the rest of the team next season. Always shout him out. And I know my dad's watching back at home, so thanks for staying up late and checking it out. Glad to secure the win in the home state. So it's a really good feeling.
Heck yeah, man. Well, we're excited to see what you can do next week. It was exciting as ever tonight, and we know it's going to be even more exciting next week. So get down there and celebrate with your team. An awesome top 3 for RSR. You guys, I know, are going to be strong next week, so get to work.
I appreciate it, guys. As always, you guys do a fantastic job, so appreciate it.
All right, buddy. Well, have a good night. All right, Brandon. Well, there you heard it. Our top three. We're going to see two of them in the playoffs final next week. Jake Rowell, Scott Healy, Gabriel Ellison, James Holzer, and Jacob Smith are going to be our five guys racing for that $1,000 prize.
How about that, by the way? 2 points separating second from fifth at the end of this round. But all that matters next week, whoever of those five in green finish first among the final five, they will be our champion on the season. And give a nod as well. Those are quality runs for Dean Brummett, Scott Kalal, and Timothy Latham tonight. They all ran inside the top 8 and had a good showing, did what they needed to do, but obviously the top 5 did exactly what they needed to do to advance. But good run there for the season for those three, as well as Austin Reedy and Kyle Spees as well.
Yeah, and these five guys are definitely the ones that definitely had the strongest end in the playoffs, and they have earned their spot to run for that $1,000 championship prize next week. You see it right there. Championship race, the Big Money Texas 215 at Texas Motor Speedway. Do not miss it. If you guys had a great time tonight watching this race at Michigan, there were battles all over the track. You can imagine what it's going to be like with that money hanging over their heads next week.
Oh, whole lot of money on the line, whole lot of pride on the line, and also that victory lane win to close out the season and build momentum for Season 2. So there's going to be a lot of things to be racing for next week, along with the Tier 2 championship as well. So it's always going to be interesting at a track like that, and can't wait to see what happens next Sunday.
Going to be a few races from now. Our next race is going to be this coming Wednesday, June 9th. It's the championship race for the Truck Series, the Big Money Texas 130 at Texas Motor Speedway. What do you expect to see out there, as we have 6 guys battling for that money?
6 guys going for it. Unfortunately, not one of them, but it's similar to Jake Rowell. This is my home track. I live in Georgia now, but I grew up going to Texas Motor Speedway from the point it opened, and had season tickets there for a while. Grew up about 15 miles from the racetrack, so something that I definitely want to go out there and get a win. But there's going to be 6 guys gunning for that title in the Truck Series. A couple of them have had amazing success all season long on the mile and a halves. I think we're going to see one heck of a shootout Wednesday night.
Yeah, and the best thing about the trucks is, Cole Martin has dominated all season long, but you really never know who is going to win week in and week out. Great competition within that series. So definitely check it out, 9:30 p.m. Central, 10:30 Eastern Time, here on YouTube and Facebook. Just subscribe to the channel, give it a like, and you will know when we go live here at SRN. So you do not want to miss this final week of action. It has been a long season, started back in January, and we are here at the end now as the Cup Series has ended week 19. It is time to make some money here. But for all of us here at Speed Racing Network, we're going to wrap it up for tonight. We appreciate you guys stopping by and watching. And like I said, please like and subscribe. But for now, just remember, as always, to go faster.